Morning, everyone. We're going to start with the preamble. Chief Watt, if you would. Appreciate you, brother.
Everybody saying we're going to do the preamble, please. With the permission of the elders, you're not allowed to speak. Sure. All right. We the people.
We the people
of the Aboriginal Republic of North America.
of the Aboriginal Republic of North America.
Concerning our natural Aboriginal rights.
Concerning our natural Aboriginal rights.
As the oath recorded.
As the oath recorded.
Aboriginal indigenous peoples of the Americas.
Aboriginal indigenous peoples of America.
Consisting of. An Aboriginal Union.
An Aboriginal Union.
Of indigenous people.
Living
Living in accord. With natural law.
natural law.
The law of our ancestors.
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 Do hereby recognize.
Do hereby recognize
All nationals.
all nationals
Of the Aboriginal Republic of North America.
of the Aboriginal Republic of North America.
As a unified community.
As a unified community.
Established our divine right.
Established our divine right.
Self-rule.
Self-rule.
Common defense of our nation.
Common defense of our nation.
A complete unified will.
A complete unified will.
Progress and prosperity.
For progress and prosperity.
By and for our people.
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 Establishing justice.
Establishing
By
justice.
way of natural law.
By way of natural law.
And equality.
And equality.
And complete autonomy.
And complete autonomy.
As a nation.
As a nation.
And throughout the earth.
And throughout the earth.
Peace, family.
Peace. All right, good stuff. So today we're talking about nationality. So we're going to do it slightly different this time. And there will be some adjustments to this as we go along because I am not a PowerPoint person, but I've used PowerPoint to create this, and the official PowerPoint is not finished yet. However, I'm still going to use it. Let's see. So, okay. I have to figure out how to swap it out. All right, so I can go to there. So we do this and say here. Share this. Okay. All right. So, since we're talking about nationality, a lot of times when we talk about nationality, people, they don't really have a full understanding as to how we operate and who we are. And so, first I wanted to start out by just talking about government and how what a government is, because we don't. What is a government? Anybody? What is a government? Okay, and that's the whole point. Functionally, when we look at things, one of my mentors always taught me that if we come to the table with two different definitions, then there will never be understanding because they're two different definitions. Like if I ask everybody in this room to define for me what love is, depend upon where you are in your cycle and who you are, your definition of love may be different. Because there are different types of love, one, but there's people flow from different areas of love. Some people are more communicative, some people are more touch, some people are more physical attributes, some people are more giving. So depending upon where you are, everyone's going to have a different definition of how they come about defining what that is for them. And so that we're all on the same page as we're having conversation, let's first look at government. Okay, so government is a system by which a state or community is governed. Okay? So in the Commonwealth of Nations, the word government is also used more narrowly to refer to the collective group of people that exercise executive authority in a state. This usage is, yeah, help me out.
Analogous.
Analogous, yeah, that word. Analogous. Anomalous. Somebody look that up real quick on your smartphone. Just type in anomalous, please. Yep. And the only reason why is because if we come across words that are questionable, or you don't understand definition, reading the definition ain't going to help you. So let's look at the definition of anomalous. But we'll continue and we'll go back to that. All right. So
Analogous.
Analogous, comparable in certain respects, typically in a way that makes clearer the nature of the things compared.
read that real quick again. Analogous means
Analogous, comparable in certain respects, typically in a way that makes clearer the nature of the things compared. You know, like say, some people say the best way to teach is by analogy.
okay.
Using analogy.
Okay.
So it's, comparable in certain respects, typically in a way that makes clearer the nature of the things compared. They saw the relation between the ruler and the subject as analogous to that of father and children.
Okay. All right. Cool. So basically, analogous is a comparative way to better understand something. Okay. So what is called an administration in American English. Furthermore, especially in American English, the concept of the state and the government may be synonymously to refer to the person or group of people exercising authority over a politically organized territory. Finally, government is also sometimes used in English as synonym for governance. In this case of its broad associative definition, government normally consists of legislators, administrators, and arbitrators. Okay? Government is the means by which state policy is enforced, as well as the mechanism for determining the policy of the state. A form of government or form of state governance refers to set political systems and institutions that make up the organization of a specific government. Government of any kind currently affects every human activity in many important ways. For this reason, political scientists generally argue that government should not be studied by itself, but it should be studied along with anthropology, economics, environmentalism, history, philosophy, science, and sociology. All right. So, does anybody have any questions concerning that definition before we move forward? Or anybody have anything to add concerning that definition before we move forward? Okay. So, we're looking at government to get a better understanding of how ARNA operates. Let's do a how do you say it? Analysis? Okay, so depend upon how it's in the sentence, which depends on how. Okay, so now analogous is similar to analogy. It's just okay. All right, cool. Haha, these English lessons. So let's take a thought of the Jewish people. So the Jewish people end up taking residence in an area called Palestine. Palestine is a state government, right? Palestine, the Jewish people decided we're the chosen people of God. Now, the Jewish people, is that a religious sect or is it a sect of people? Jewish. The Jewish people as we know them, if you go back in history and you look at ethnicity, will you find a group of people called Jewish people? So is Jewish people a religious sect or is it a ethnicity?
Religious.
It's religious.
That's right.
So a religious group decided, hey, we're going to
Take this.
form what's called a plebiscite.
Go ahead.
That's what you say, what the them decided.
Well, that's for analogy. Really what I'm doing is just keeping it kind of plain and simple. Of course, there's detail to it, but just for people's understanding of how, because sometimes people say, well, how can ARNA operate on the North American continent as a government within itself? And so the analogy, most people are very familiar with Israel. So Israel became a plebiscite on the landmass of Palestine. And they built their economic base. Building that economic base, after a period of time, they then applied to the United Nations, became a nation state. Now, yes, there's some detail in there I'm not going to go through because that's a whole nother conversation. Became a nation state, and so now they actually occupy a portion of the land of Palestine. Yet, they claim rights to the land. Now, were they born in Palestine?
No.
So, do they have just single rights or just solely rights?
No.
Neither. Okay. So, as we know historically, when it comes to the Americas, we know that historically our people have been here since over 50,000 years. Okay. What is the age of the European race?
2000.
Okay, let's give it 6,000. Let's say it was 10,000. We've been on the actual planet for 50.
We were in this part of the earth.
Okay.
We are the original.
Okay, so let's give it. So here's the deal. We've been here well over 50,000 years.
Okay.
Yet
Okay.
Europeans, the newest race on the planet, have been here approximately 10,000. So when it comes to the north, when it comes to the continental masses of the Americas, would it be reasonable to say that 9 times out of 10 we didn't, as they try to tell us, stay in East Africa alone, as we know it to be, East Africa? And again, we're going based on history, as they say. We would realize that as hunter-gatherers, we moved about. So we would have spread all over the planet, not just in a general location. And I'm done with that type of history because most people don't know some of the other history. So I'm steering toward staying kind of within the auspices of what most people know. Most people know that they say that quote unquote African people were created in East Africa and then migrated into other areas. But the other areas would not have just been the continent of what we know it to be of Africa today. It would have been Africa and went on up into Asia and all into North America, down into Australia and all these other
Caribbean
areas, Caribbean, North America, South America. So I'm pretty sure we could agree that after 50,000 years, we would have inhabited the entire planet. Okay, so when it comes down to it, because we have not only just single rights, which means, of bloodline, but also just solely rights of soil, our people were here first on the North American continent. There are many different artifacts and things that can show you that. And what was the name of the book again, brother?
By Dr. David Imhotep, Africans were first Americans.
Okay, so by Dr. David Imhotep, Africans were the first Americans. You can get that book. And actually what we'll do is we'll add that into the slides because that's real key. Okay? Oh. So, we all realize that the only way we get here is through a mother and a father, right? We agree with that.
Mhm.
All right, so nothing from my understanding of this planet, nothing comes into this dimension without coming through the mother's womb that's seeded by the father. Okay?
Right.
And so therefore,
Jesus.
so you gave me a break. Okay. So we since we come through this vessel called a mother, think about this. We come to a birthing canal, and during the time of our growth, we are water. We live in water. Okay, that's really what it is. It's a combination of water within the body. Okay, so what happens is most of us are born at a hospital. Can we agree with that?
That's
Okay.
good. Today, yeah.
A hospital. The hospital is what type of entity? State entity, right? State entities through the United States create what we call gross domestic product. Why do we say gross domestic product? Okay, because let's go back into the slave time, the times when they supposedly had slaves. If I was a slave owner and I owned you, and you went out and worked for me and toiled the land and made me money, then what were you considered to me? My gross domestic product, right? So what simply occurred is the United States, back in about 1939, created what's called the birth certificate. When that birth certificate was fashioned, it created what's called the 14th Amendment citizen. And what it was equal to, the citizenship was really equal to, I have up there slavery, and I'm going to change that. There really should be denationalization and genocide, but slavery as they call it. But it was so much more than just slavery. So the United States, through the 14th Amendment, put both the fiction person, as we know it to be, through the birth certificate on the same level with corporations. And it was the first time a corporate entity could actually sue a person, which they're really not suing the flesh and blood person, they're really suing the corporate fiction. Okay? So it put us on the same playing level so that that could occur. But what it also did was it took you out of that status that we supposedly now have of being freed from slavery back into another form of denationalization, genocide, and slavery called a 14th Amendment citizen. Because now, as a 14th Amendment citizen, you now are locked into their system. How do we know this? Have children and allow someone to claim that your child is being abused. Who can remove your children from your home?
The state.
Okay, what's the state, right? Okay, so it depends on what state it is. Then they different names. I know in Philadelphia it's DHS. Over in New Jersey it's DICES. Okay, what's that? Right, Division of Youth and Family Services. So the thing is that this only comes about through that 14th Amendment citizenship. Because if you were not part of their functioning governmental range or statuses that they have them, then they wouldn't be able to do those removals in that manner. Okay? So, through this is created, through the slave piece and the whole 14th Amendment citizenship and all of that, it created what's considered, I'm going to say colonization as well. Because really, we always think of colonization as being only related to, as we know, what we call Africa. But think about this, if we were already here, then what was really induced was colonization, with genocide, denationalization, forced assimilation, deculturalization, despiritualization, and it's all misnomered as what we call slavery. Okay? What occurs is that the 14th Amendment citizenship, if you notice, whenever you're registered, whenever you go to a hospital, they register your child through the state. And you notice when they do census reports about who's registered to a given state. Depending upon how many people are registered to that state, then they get federal aid, right? They get federal funding. So your state jurisdiction is tied in with that whole 14th Amendment citizenship as well, because the states receive funding from the federal government, okay? So the seat of government in the United States is where?
Washington, D.C.
Okay, so Washington, D.C. So since we know that D.C. is that seat of government, how do they have jurisdiction over within the other, well, within the 50 states?
Because the state gave them authority to do it.
Okay, how? What was the contract that they signed to create that? Look at, okay. I've never heard that one, but that's good.
Jawad
Never heard that. No.
Jawad heard it.
Please explain it. Yes, and speak loud because we are recording. All right. While you're looking up Buck Act, what we were looking for was what? How did the other?
Territorial jurisdiction of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, or Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2 of the U.S. Constitution. So, in 1940, Congress passed the Buck Act for U.S. Sections 105 to 113.
Buck Act, jurisdiction, in other words, at some point, all the geographical states became fictions, corporate states under the corporate U.S. government. The Washington, D.C. is the mother corporation, which all other state corporations fall under. Mm-hmm. So, and all that has to do with the 14th Amendment, and making everything making all corporate citizens.
What I was actually looking for that part, though, was looking at their contract to be federal enclave. And we always talk about that.
Right.
Why are you looking like you weren't clear?
I am clear, but I'm also somewhere else.
Okay.
Because of the actual District of Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
And the misrepresentation of it being the whole conglomeration of chief and staff, it is for the state contract that they Washington, D.C., the mother. But the people are a different subject matter.
But see, here's the deal. What we're talking about is how it works with nationalization and what they've done to us. So while I agree with that, the thing is how it is portrayed is that we fall within a state jurisdiction that's overseen by a federal government,
right.
And most people think that United States is the entire North American continent. And this is the misnomer, of course, that we're abolishing, is getting people to have an understanding that your state jurisdiction came about through you being registered 9 times out of 10 to a hospital, because most of us were born in hospitals, and then that contract being drawn up in the mother force to sign this adhesion contract or this adhesion document
lack of
Hear what I'm saying. When I say force, if you are not educated, meaning if you're not shared, here's the deal. A choice is this. Here's a Hyundai, here's a Honda. The difference between a Hyundai and a Honda is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Which would you choose? Now you have choice. When you go into the hospital, they don't tell you, hey, mother with the incoming soul, you have a choice to sign this contract, you have a choice not to. You want to think about it and let us know? You have a choice to allow the baby to come forth and lay on your breast for a half hour to an hour to get acclimated to its environment before we cut the umbilical cord because the baby has been there for 9 months. And the connection to its mother being severed immediately brings about trauma. They don't give you this information. They don't give you the information that, oh, listen, by us giving your child these immunization shots may create Alzheimer's long-term, may create Down syndrome and all this other stuff. So they don't give you a choice. So when I say force, not that they hold the gun to your head, they just make sure that you're dumbed down and just don't know who you are and don't know that you have rights. So in a way, it's still force. Does that make sense? Right, it's not free will. So at that point, who do we blame for that? See, it really goes back to what we said earlier when we talked about the genocide, the denationalization, the forced assimilation. Because prior, we had our culture and our spirituality to help guide us through these processes to better understand. There were mores and norms that were naturally within the society. But because of what we've grown through, now we're in a state of confusion, of chaos. But the beauty of chaos is chaos brings about order. Be confused long enough, and you become still, and you sit, and eventually you're going to bring about some, because nothing can exist in chaos for but so long. Chaos creates an explosion, and an explosion creates what? There's going to be something that comes out of that. Okay? So, through that whole thing, we then have what's considered that birth certificate, which, that adhesion document. And really what it is, it's a financial bond. It's a bond to allow the United States, as we know it to be, to utilize it on an open market to trade. So you're used just like you, as it were, cattle. I own cattle. I come to you, a bank, and say, hey, here's my collateral, the cattle. Okay? What will a cow produce? The cow produces milk. It's a gross domestic product, right? The cow produces beef. The cow produces dung, which people use to now fertilize the ground. There's multiple uses for it. Okay? So that adhesion contract is able to be utilized as a note. And if you look at the actual birth certificate at the bottom, it literally says bank note on there. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, I apologize, guys. I'm taking notes for things that I need to insert in some of these things. Also, what's created is a social security number, and that's considered a tracking device. I call it a policy number. Because what it does is it's really just looking to see, what has this person done? It helps to track your bank account. It helps to track your social security. It helps to track, your car, your home, your life insurance, your homeowner's insurance, your driver's license, your car insurance, creditors, and it attaches itself to you in so many different ways, okay? The holding tank for all of these things is considered what to be the UCC-1, which is a financial statement. So this financial statement is really owned by the United States as long as it's within their jurisdiction. The UCC-1 can be reassigned because that does belong to you. Okay? Birth certificate, the adhesion contract is created that is really belonging to the U.S. government because they created that for a very specific thing. The UCC1 is your financial account. So what it does is it holds your security interest and it also bolsters the economy. So the more value you bring to the society, the more that flows into this financial statement, the better you look on the United States book. So, right. So I mean, it's a beautiful thing when it comes to the United States when you're a functional citizen within their jurisdiction and you do amazing things. Of course, that financial statement looks good. And so as I'm trading using your birth certificate, hey, look, this is what this person's doing. I can get more. Okay? What occurs is that Social Security number is also a tracking device for your job or your business. Okay? So it's what we look to for taxation. One thing you'll find is the highest bill or output of your daily life comes through federal taxes. We're about 26 to 28%. And not only that's federal taxes, but then now you're talking about taxation period, even personal taxation. So when you're talking about your electric bill, your gas bill, your water bill, your cell phone bill, think about this. After they tax you, anywhere from 28 to 36% of your check, because remember, after federal taxes, you got Social Security, Medicare, you also have unemployment, which is really an insurance. So that it's not quite 50. It's really about 36.
Everything is taxed in reality. And everything you do, they tax you on.
Once you add in your electric and gas and all that stuff, yes, you're above. But within that portion, yes. But within like a paycheck, it's only about 36%. But once you get into the fact of being taxed on your gas, electric, water, clothing, I agree. It probably goes up upwards of 50%. You are correct. Yeah.
You go to 40 though. 40 is the maximum on the check.
No, we're not talking about on a check. We're talking about beyond your check. Once you're taxed between that 28 to 36% that comes out in total, once you get taxed on all the other stuff that you're taxed on, when you go buy food, that's prepared, only prepared food gets taxed. When you go buy your gas, when you go get your, you pay your electric bill, your cable bill, that's what the brother was talking about, that it takes you upward to about 50%. And I'm glad you brought that up because I'm gonna add that in as well. I'm gonna look at what that percentage is and give a general overall schematic because I think that's a good visual. So thank you. If you notice, we have it over here with that personal taxation. So we get into that, but to get that overall view of what that actually creates, I like that even better. So thank you. And see, there's the beauty of having class because everyone comes together and they add something that helps the whole. So we all have assets, our homes, our cars, our 401ks, our pensions, our annuities, our investments, and our children. One of the things we always talk about is how as we're set up presently as 14th Amendment citizens, the analogy that we normally use, and we'll switch to this real quick just so people can get a visual idea of what we're talking about. Let's go here. Let's go stop screen sharing. All right, and we'll go here. All right, so we're gonna do it just like we normally do it. Okay, we'll talk about how it looks being a part of the United States government presently. Okay, so I'm gonna use you anyway. So you can stand for me. Yeah, you're right here. Yeah. Okay. All right. So this brother right here. Let's say this brother right here represents the United States government. Okay. So yeah, boo. All right. And let's say this sister right here, you can stand for a moment. Lovingly, thank you. Let's say this sister right here is one of the citizens of the United States. You'll never go wrong. Because the elders, we're preserving their energy.
Well, I'm an elder.
Yeah, whatever. Come on, brother, please. Thank you. We're videoing. Come on, quickly. Yeah.
Did Alvin actually speak to them?
All right, so let's say United States, when we say government, I'm also using him as the court systems as well. Okay? So United States government, court systems, whatever.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's why you got the biggest one.
Right. So the sister contracted with the brother here. And this, because you're a United States citizen, your brother. In fact, you're black, being a United States citizen, remember, okay? So, so the sister contracted with the brother. Okay, the brother has a trust through the court system, right? So, the situation goes bad between the two. And the contract is now up for questioning because she doesn't like the way things played out. So she now comes and says, I'm going to sue. Who does she go to? The court system. Okay? So now, let's say she goes to the court system to go against him for a breach of contract. Let's say everything that he has is in his trust. She's suing him for $250,000, and he's saying, I'm broke. But he has assets in his trust. She goes to court, she wins her case. The trust was created through where? The court system. She's suing him through who?
The court.
So, what happens if all his assets are in his trust? What happens? Go get it, girl. So, in this scenario, the trust can possibly be dissolved because it's through the same court system. And now his assets are open to the lawsuit. Does that make sense? Okay. Now we're not getting into detail. We're just talking about how it basically can work. So because it's a court system that she's going to sue him is the very same court system that created her trust, what's the likelihood of that trust being protected in a major manner? It's not. Okay? All right, so that's it for now. We're going to come back to that.
Your money
You
belongs
sit down.
to them.
You sit down now. You're broke now. You're broke, so sit down. You're broke. Yeah, he broke now. Yeah, he broke now. So that's,
What happened?
yeah, there was so now.
Okay.
Right, Troy, have you talked about the fact that the U.S. is a corporation?
Not for this. We normally do in the other type class. Yeah.
It has about 250 names, USA.
Right. Right. And see, the thing is that that's why I just teach it with where it's actually located, things that nature. So what happens is this. We offer you the ability to become a part of what's called the Aboriginal Republic of North America. The Aboriginal Republic of North America is a plebiscite. We remember what a plebiscite is?
Yes, you spoke of that by the Jews a little earlier.
Uh-huh.
You spoke about that, how they want to take over.
Okay. So the functional definition of plebiscite is a vote.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. A vote. So really, it's a group of people that come together that have a vote. That's really what a plebiscite is. Over time, they can, you can become a nation state, but the nation state piece, from my understanding, is that that's done once you've gone before the United Nations and you become a nation state. Okay, but in the beginning, young nation just starting out, really what it is, you consider a plebiscite. Okay, so the way this plebiscite was formed, it was brought together, and the information was authenticated, and then we had it sealed by the Secretary of State, which was Condoleezza Rice at the time, and also the state representative here in Pennsylvania, which I forgot his name, Tom somebody. Yeah. Shawinski, Shimorski, something. So they were put on notice of who we are and what we were doing. So basically what occurs is that when you nationalize with ARNA, you get what's called indigenous status. So it's considered to be freedom, and it's governed by natural law. So it's not a man-made something that, hey, listen, you have to wear your seatbelt. It's natural law. So within the natural laws, there are certain natural laws that govern us, period. For instance, like the example we used prior, let's say someone decided to jump out this window right here. What law is going to take effect?
Gravity.
Law of gravity. Right. Okay, so there's certain natural laws that come into effect. When it comes to our life our life and we're born, there's certain natural laws that we should have. We have a right to life, we have a right to liberty, and we have a right to what they call prosperity, which is really the attainment of land. Now, attainment of land isn't just to attain it; it's to then nurture it and to build. Build meaning that you're harvesting, you're planting, harvesting, you're building, you're doing things of that nature to improve your longevity of life, if that makes sense. So what we do is we give a certificate of live birth, okay? So it's not an adhesion document. It's just noting when you were born, just for purposes of family tree and things of that nature. So, history goes on. Because you ever notice, especially like within certain communities, you ask a person, who's your father? They know their father. Who's your grandfather? They know them. But then most of us can't go beyond that. I know, for instance, I'm doing a family tree right now. I know who my father is. I know of my father's father, but I can't go any further than that. That's it. Like, I'm stopped. And no one wants to talk about it. You ask people, they won't talk about it. You wouldn't know my father's father. No. So, on my mother's side, of course, we can go back much further. People are willing to talk, but my father's side, not willing to talk at all. So, certificate of live birth is, you always want to keep some type of census within your country, within your nation state, within your community, to know what's happening for history. Okay? Or we do what's called the baptismal record. Okay? What happens is we form what's considered to be a trust, and that trust is formed with the EIN number, and it's a 501(b), which is considered tax exempt, number one, and it's considered a foreign entity. So because it's tax exempt and a foreign entity, what would that look like? And that's what we're going to talk about real quick, is what that would look like relative to the same scenario that we just gave when we talked about the lawsuit. Okay, so we're going to do this again, utilizing those in the room to talk about what that would look like. And this time I'm going to turn the light on. Oh, so you went downstairs so I wouldn't call on you. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off for a quick second just so those online can see. So, no. So, you go put down your watermelon rind.
Now you know your nerves work.
I need you, love. Okay, this watermelon over here if anybody wants some. So, this time we're going to shift this over. And before you go getting watermelon, let's finish this real quick, please. We're going to use you, right? Okay. So this is what we're going to do. This sister right here is going to be a national with an honor. This brother right here is going to be your 14th Amendment citizen. Boo. No. He's going to be a 14th Amendment citizen, and what he's going to be doing is suing her. But she's transferred. She went through all the paperwork properly. She's number one, did her intake form. She did her quiz. She submitted her documentation. After submitting her documentation, her paperwork was done. Her IDs were done. She went and got her bank account. She transferred a UCC1 over into her trust. Okay. She went on and canceled the birth certificate. She went on and she transferred her property into her trust, and she transferred everything else into the trust. So she's fully guarded and protected. Are we clear on that? Okay. So you notice I said she transferred everything into her trust. Not that she transferred, she did all the other stuff except for, I didn't transfer my 401k. Or maybe I didn't transfer my property. Or maybe my children aren't within the auspices of honor. So if you're not fully transferred, then you do not remove all jurisdictional rights. Okay? So you must properly transfer your stuff into the trust to be fully protected. Is that clear? Okay, so she's transferred everything. This brother comes up against her to sue her. All right? So, still need you, brother.
No problem. I can help you.
All right. So this brother, he's going to represent honor.
Oh, wow.
All right. So he's going to represent honor. All right. Brother Ogun. Oguna. Excuse me. All right. This brother right here is going to represent the trust. So he's created a trust. All right. Step back from me. This is her. This is the trust that guards her. This is honor that guards the trust. Okay? Now, this brother is going to come and, if I can have you stand up for a moment. He's going to represent the United States court system. Okay? So we're going to talk about state court. So he's representing the state relative to the court system. Okay? You can stand for a moment. This brother is going to represent the federal government. Now, think about this. Brother, if I can have you come up for a moment. Okay? So now, this is the way it looks. Let's say this brother right here is going to be the attorney representing this brother here. So this brother says, hey, me and this just had a contract. I don't like the way the contract played out. I felt as though something was wrong. I'm suing her. Now we don't know whether things went wrong or not. This is an allegation. And they say you're what? Innocent until proven guilty? Unless you're black, you're guilty until proven innocent, okay? So what happens is this gentleman is going to sue. This is his attorney. Where would he normally go if he's suing? What court? Which court would he go to? Would he go to state court, right? But she's not part of the jurisdiction of that state, nor the United States. So who would he have to go to? Federal. Okay? Now we're talking about generally speaking. There are certain circumstances where they can go to state. However, generally speaking, it's going to be seen in federal. Why? Because we're talking about government versus government. So, think about this. Remember how many layers of protection they had? The other scenario? Was there any layer of protection at all?
None.
Okay? This time, you got to go to federal, okay? That deals with state, that deals with honor, that deals with trust, that covers her. Does that make sense? So just imagine the power of protection that you have by simply nationalizing and being part of a plebiscite that's operating here within the North American continent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Right.
right.
Right. Does that bring about clarity for anyone? Okay. All right.
In other words, it's paid to do all that protection you got.
All right, so we're gonna go back to our slide. All right, so we have what's called a 501(b), and you're tax exempt, and it's a foreign entity. Okay? The trust guards. Okay, what it does is it eliminates taxation, it protects all your assets, your home, your car, your 401k, your pension, your annuities, your life insurance policies, your investments, your children, and you. Okay? So remember, anytime someone takes you into court, in order to really try you, they have to have two forms of jurisdiction. What are those two forms? Personal and subject matter. Now, once you are nationalized and you become an indigenous citizen, or you have indigenous status, at what point in time would they have personal jurisdiction? Or could they have personal jurisdiction? Okay? Because why? You're not part of that governmental entity. Now, they can have subject matter jurisdiction, yes. Okay? The challenge is when you don't put the things in your trust, you leave them with both areas of jurisdiction. Because you've never declared who you are. So if you have a 401k and you've never transferred into your trust, you've never put them on notice of your status change. That's why you don't then have, that's why it gives them personal jurisdiction, because you've never transferred. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I'd like to make sure we're very clear with how that works, because some people say, hey, well, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna get my IDs. I'm gonna nationalize, and I'm gonna get my tax exempt status, and you never move anything, and then you go through divorce, and your wife comes against all of these different assets, and you try to claim, oh no, well, I'm a national. National to what? Who did you inform about this? Who did you let know? Did you put them on notice? Remember, the first thing that we do when we nationalize is we go and get things authenticated. We're not saying to them, authenticate who I am. What we're doing is the authentication is for the purpose of noticing them what you're choosing your status to be. Remember, Public Law 94, something subsection 302, literally says that at age 18, you're to declare your nationality. So the thing is, if you've never declared nationality and you've never put anyone on notice, how can it then apply? But then you function as a 14th Amendment citizen through everything, and then circumstance arises, and you say, oh no, well, I claim my nationality. Well, yeah, you claimed it, but you claimed it only partially. Okay? So when it comes down to it, we have to make sure we're within the proper jurisdiction in regards to making sure everything is in its proper status, so that you're not held accountable for things that you, quote unquote, didn't know. Some of this, we were talking earlier, some things you have to walk through. It's not for you to do alone. This isn't an I, my, me, it's a we thing. We, the people of the Aboriginal Republic of North America, asserting our natural Aboriginal rights as the oldest recorded. It's the we. So we have to come together and begin to work to make sure that everyone has their proper status in place, that are nationalizing, and it's a process. It is not a one-stop shop. It's something that, how many years did it take you to formulate your life presently? Okay? And then you come a part of ARNA and say, I want to do this in a day. It doesn't work that way. Okay, sometimes it can take months, sometimes it can take years. It's relative to what you're willing to do and the energy you're willing to put before it. And so, I just simply say, for those of you that are seeing this for the first time, we welcome you to get more information. The website is, you write the website out, governmentreparations.org. Write it out for me. So if you'd like to go to governmentreparations.org, you can get more information on that. In fact, I'll add that to the slide as well. Yeah, see, that makes sense. And we were talking earlier, and the brother was sharing some information that was key relative to this. So, what was the name of that form we were talking about again, brother? The form we were talking about earlier. They usually I asked you. Yeah. So, as you're transferring from one status to another, from 14th Amendment citizen to being an indigenous person, and claiming your status, there are different things you're going to have to contend with. One of them is dealing with your taxation relative to the IRS and state and things of that nature. So there are certain forms that can be filled out and they can be noticed on in order to help that process. So one of the brothers here has one of the forms. So one of the brothers here has one of the forms. So I'm gonna turn it over to him to be able to share that information. But just before I do, it's actually Public Law 94-241 subsection 301. Once again, that's Public Law 94-241 section 301 302. And it literally talks about how you're to claim your status once you become of age of 18. So if you could take, probably about 5 minutes. Okay. And for purposes of recording, you can appreciate that.
Peace, man.
Peace.
And yes, yeah, I believe that. What the brother's mentioning, talking about, I've done actually through my long search, found this regulation and site where to revoke the sub-silentio election. Sub-silentio election is an election that we all made very early out of ignorance because we're following traditions of the society and community that says, oh, you have to file income tax. And they're telling you, or file income tax so you can get a return. Of course, that's debate. Okay, debate to get you in. Then once you file that W-4 on the job, the withholding, voluntary withholding agreement, and do the 1040, that's prima facie evidence against you should at one point you wake up and realize you made a mistake, or you wasn't supposed to, you were never under the jurisdiction of the national government or Washington, D.C., then they can take you into their court system and punish you. So one of the things that's always necessary in law is supposed to provide remedies for you, but they never tell you where to find the remedy. Okay? They always say in their law, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So you're responsible to know the law, even though there's so many millions of codes and statutes on the book. You're responsible to know what that is, even though many of their professional attorneys and lawyers don't know. So many of hard years of searching and praying so long, God is supposed to knowledge and information is beneficial and useful to me, and away from that knowledge and information is not beneficial to me. God is for the group or nation that's beneficial to me to protect my rights and liberty or my entitlements.
Right.
So I say that prayer every day, 5 times a day. And believe it or not, when you pray and send those things out into the eternal universe, your answers come back. So one day, I went on vacation. I came back home, and I had this message on my phone that said, "This is for John Mason, his straw name, and that we are suing you and suing your Social Security number because he's been observing you and watching you and how you've been, dealing with your money and your transactions, and that you have all kinds of debts you owe, taxes you haven't paid, and if you don't answer us in a certain amount of time, then we're going to take you into the court, and then we're going to add another 25,000 onto whatever it is that we say you owe us. That's the penalty of interest. So, okay, what the heck is this? Start calling, listen to them. And of course, he's saying the same thing. But the idea was, long story short, what I found out was that was a scam. But the scam pushed me into dealing with this matter, okay, because they were coming. So these people were scamming people all around. Somehow they get the information, call you up and scam you. What they want you to do is, with your credit card, pay some money, and you think you're paying the federal government, and you're really paying somebody to scam you. Okay, that's what happened. But anyway, that's how I got pushed towards finding the solution of getting out of the tax system. What we're dealing with always is jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is the key. The brother's talking about jurisdiction. Whatever jurisdiction you in, those are the laws in which you're responsible to. So, because at some point we got our W-4 1040, we voluntarily volunteer ourselves into slavery, voluntary, what's called voluntary servitude. We have bequeathed our income, our life income, to the federal government as a gift. It was never required of us, but because we don't understand jurisdiction, okay, you have the 50 states, the several states, separate jurisdiction from Washington, D.C. or the federal government or national government, because they have us think that they're one jurisdiction. And because of that, we get sucked into by semantic legal deceit into a trap that has us volunteer our life energy in perpetuity until we figure out that we need to revoke this thing. Now, here's the catch though. You can revoke it. Now, you might say you have to file your taxes by the 15th of every year. But really, it gets you up until like June, somewhere in June, because a lot of times in June, they start sending you out stuff. Okay? Then you didn't file your taxes, you didn't do this, okay? But you have to do this revocation by April or latest June of that year. Say, for example, 2015 taxes will be filed next year, right? By April 15th. So you want to revoke it before that time comes. If not, then you're going to be subject to that year and all the previous years. But once you revoke it, it takes care of that year and all other years in the future in perpetuity. In other words, you're out of the tax code. But they're never going to acknowledge you and tell you that you found the remedy for you out of the tax code. You have to know that by doing your due diligence, finding that regulation, which is USC USC 6013 G4A. What's the influence? G4A. And it's lowercase b4. That's where it's found.
Sometimes you do now.
I'm sorry. USC 6013 G4A. That's where it's found. That's where you can revoke the election that out of ignorance you elected to give your energy as a gift to the government. So that's called a revocation of election, and it's established by U.S. Congress.
Now,
Yes,
initially, because I was just on that particular document, and the way they make it seem that you have to read through it, and if we do categories like joint file, yada yada yada, you have to go out down to the potato to find. So initially, when you look at that particular entry, you might feel as though, well, this doesn't apply, you might throw it off. Just go all the way down. I think the subsection D in that particular
revocation of election starts with A, B, C, so forth, so on. But yeah, you have to read it. Now, always they're trying to trick you. They're trying to an alien. We all thought that we were citizens of this so-called government, but in reality, the state that you were so-called born in, you were a citizen of. Because all these states were originally contagious governments, separate governments, who came together, okay, and had the federal government represented. So whatever state you're in, you were supposed to be a citizen of that state, but with the 14th Amendment, they did away with all that. They made everybody 14th Amendment citizens for a citizen, okay? It's all part of diversity, social security, all that stuff to create bonds and so forth, so they can use you essentially as a cash cow or energy source to you're the energy for the world, okay? As a matrix, they will plug up. Um, so So you have to revoke it, but you still have to deal with those previous years that you are responsible, that you were under the jurisdiction as a taxpayer, a U.S. citizen, a U.S. person. They all mean the same thing. It all boils down to taxation, is what it is. And a U.S. citizen, you claim to be a U.S. citizen, that means if you go to China, they can still tax you. No matter where you are in the world, they can tax you because you claim to be U.S. citizen under jurisdiction. So the jurisdiction we originally were under the 50 states, which is separate from D.C. or the District of Columbia or the national government. But the confusion is in the language. It makes you think it was one jurisdiction and they all mean the same thing, U.S. citizen, but really a state citizen and then federal citizen or, U.S. citizen. You don't want to be a U.S. citizen.
I have a question. Now,
I'm gonna put it up there. I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up.
Oh, okay.
It'll
for the filing of the prior year, the notification form 56 and W810, does that, along with that, can that be a conglomeration?
Absolutely.
Cover you?
You absolutely have to do Form 56. It has to be filled out properly, and proper people need to be noticed. Everybody don't know how to fill out this Form 56. It's not just because they give you a form and give you instructions don't mean that you know how to fill it out. Because remember, these forms are created by them for their benefit, not for you. So everything they have on these forms is to trap you into their jurisdiction. So you have to know how to fill that form out properly. Yes, but it does. It fortifies what you're doing. And when you do this original election, you send it either registered mail or I send mine FedEx, you can send it UPS, some kind of way that documents that you sent it. You send it to the IRS commissioner, whoever it is at the time. John Copeland, presently the IRS commissioner, and then the director of IRS, which is very difficult for you to find out who that is in Philadelphia. They always find a way to try to hide, but you send it to the director of whatever city, town you live in. Okay, and you make sure that you get it notarized or witness, or notarized and or witness, and state that this is not a acquiescence in any jurisdiction, but person verification and identification. And make sure you record it in the public county, wherever Secretary of State, or wherever you can record it at, in Arizona, Patrick County, King County, wherever you can record it. Because I'm finding out the key is not so much that you have to have a UCC1, UCC3, and all that kind of stuff, but it's important that you notice them in the public who you are, what your status is, what your standing is. It doesn't have to be UCC, but that it has to be in the public. That's their notice, because they say due process is, the right to get a notice and to respond to that notice. So, and the same thing applies to them. So you put it in the public, whether they find it or not, that's on them. As long as it's noticed in the public, so give them a notice.
So right here you're showing termination of election. An election under the subsection shall terminate at the earliest of the following time. And you said 4A, so that would be if either taxpayer revokes the election as of the first taxable year for which the last day prescribed by law for following the return of the tax under Chapter 1 has not yet occurred. Right, so April 15th, whatever year it is. Right. But it does, is there a actual form that is filled out, and how is that then
I don't know
moved?
if that's a form. All I know is that it's revocation, affidavit of revocation.
Where do you get that from?
They had, go ahead. Then, I believe it's titled, 26 USC 631. On that particular page, they had a copy of the affidavit, and in it, they had all the prior scenarios under, or by, the title or entitlement you want to claim. And the one for us is the one for the survivor.
What was this again?
I wouldn't use that form.
No, it's not, it's just a format.
Okay. And what was that?
Format.
Where was that located?
I believe it was, Title 26, USC 6331.
6331.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you said you would use their form, and so if not using their form, what form would you use?
I would just do a revocation of election with affidavit.
Okay. See, when you make those statements, here's the key, and this is where I want to be cautious. Everybody doesn't know how to do an affidavit. So the moment you say I would just do an affidavit, it doesn't work for the general public. Because when people don't know how to do affidavits, they'll mess up.
I did give Ali this information.
Okay.
He has it, but, there's a time to, use the template from me and do it.
All right. So if it's okay, if we could connect and get a copy, and that way, for those that are in class, we can post it in that way.
Believe it or not, I paid $700. Well, I'm not about charging people. People aren't doing it. To me, it's about, if you have information that's beneficial, it helps someone else. Because we're all in the same situation together. Yeah. Now, I also believe that sometimes you shouldn't give people stuff for free because they don't appreciate it.
Right.
Right. But I'm saying, I'm not charging you nothing. But you gotta appreciate it because it's for your benefit to get you out of the tax bill. Just imagine if we had known this 20, 30 years ago, how much money we could have saved.
So this is what we'll do. To be fair, because you paid money for it.
White parents.
But
Matter of fact, when they give you a website, we can find all this information, resource information on our website. It's whiteparrot.com.
White is
WITEPARIS.com. It has everything on there. I'm sorry. Whiteparrot.com. WEISSPARIS.com.
He's gonna write it down. Really?
Some of those over here like that. If you write straight, chief, that is straight.
WEISSPARIS.com.
They got everything on it. They got videos. They got everything you need to understand. Go in there and take advantage of all the resources. Study that stuff. Read it because you need to understand what you're doing. Okay? And they even have services. The same people that I'm telling you that that's where I paid for mine. They're in Paris.
I saw it, like,
Okay.
So
yeah. I actually went on it.
they're on Facebook now and they're on the other.
I went on there, but I believe that's where you can find the template. They have a template there.
Yes.
Of the affidavit. Not on that site, but I believe somewhere on that page. Because I actually pulled it up. And that's when they
I
read it.
didn't see a template. There's no template there.
I'm
If it
gonna see if
was, I
I
wouldn't
can find it.
use it. I wouldn't pay all that money.
I want to find it and pull it up,
Okay.
and perhaps if we can exchange emails, whatever, I'll send it to you, you look at it.
Or,
I was trying to get him to look at it. And we
we'll
were
look at
there.
it now. We'll look at it now. The time is now.
Yeah.
What is the website for? Sorry, I'm sorry, what is the website for?
That is where you'll find all this information. You find the services they provide on replication, on notice of efficiency, on levies and liens, how you can get the service through them to deal with those matters, how they utilize the tax court in getting a dismissal for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. That's what you want to do. Because they don't have jurisdiction anyway, but what they want to do is trick you into petitioning the court and paying the fee. Once you do that, you acquiesce in jurisdiction. If you don't do that, you write the letter stating that this is to acquire a docket number that I may address this matter, notice of efficiency or levy, whatever. This is not a petition. You're telling them clearly what it's not. I might want all this stuff to women. I got a copy of all this stuff. But they'll eventually send you back a docket number, and then you have to do, I got a 28-page brief that got everything in there that knocked them out the box. In terms of, telling them they don't have jurisdiction, what jurisdiction is, who you are, what your status is, American national, non-resident alien, blah, blah, blah. Okay? About 3 or 4 months, they will issue you a decree, usually, but it's a dismissal for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. But here's the catch. It's so slick. What they do, if you don't do the filing fee, which you don't want to do, and you don't want to do the petition, which you don't want to do, they don't have jurisdiction. They don't have jurisdiction anyway. They just want to make you think they have jurisdiction, the IRS and tax court. But when you do that, they're going to say the court has on its own, or whatever, has dismissed it for lack of subject matter jurisdiction due to the fact that you did not file the proper petition or pay the filing fee. So they're slick. They're saying that's the reason why they dismissed it. So they dismissed it because you didn't give them jurisdiction, so they don't have it. So they slick. So they're never going to acknowledge the truth.
There's dismissing fee at that point, they did dismissing.
Just what you sent to the court. Each one you're gonna have to do. So they're gonna they structure it so they come out to each one.
Right.
Slowly.
Exactly.
You're gonna have to diligently do each one the same way. First thing you do is send a note saying, we haven't heard from you, you haven't filed your taxes. Please respond, blah, 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 fill this out, get the number we do it on the month. Second time they do is they're gonna say, they're gonna send you a notice of deficiency, stating that you are deficient in your taxes. This is how much you deficient in. Okay, this is what you have to pay. If you want to pay, sign these papers, do this, blah, blah, send this back. Okay. Last time they're gonna send you a notice of levy or lien. Notice of, first of all, notice of deficiency, you got 150 days to respond to that. Okay, from the time they send it to you. The levy, 30 days is a short time. You have to know exactly what to do when they send it to you. If you don't, then after that, they're gonna, that's their so-called due process. They're noticing you that you have the right to respond. If you don't respond within that time, this one start taking your money wherever you find it. And you have to get some help to stop the doing. That's where Marner comes in. So, you have to have everything in place. Like you're saying, if you don't have everything in place, they got you some kind of contact, minimum level contact somewhere. If this thing is like wide, worldwide, if you haven't, corrected your status and gotten out of all these adhesions and trades in place, they're gonna find you. They're gonna get you.
Can they stop you from traveling?
Yeah, they can. Depending on where you started, if you like with that child support, you can't get no passport.
Yes. But what we're gonna do is, because this is such a detailed circumstance, in future classes we'll go into a little bit more in-depth detail regarding that. But I just wanted him to cover that part because it's tied in, just giving an understanding of naturalization and why. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Chief Jawad real quick for our announcement.
From the room.
Huh?
We were talking about the room. We were talking about the
Oh. Yeah, I didn't know. That wasn't the announcement. So, I will make some announcements and collect monies for, people, doing what's the name? Mhm. It's not equal.
So it's paramount in the law.
Mhm.
So all of the years you bequeath your income to them,
Mhm.
entitled to Social Security, they're going to say they give the money back to you. That's what it comes down to this.
You're right back.
You take it back.
The funny thing is, he needed both of these, right? That's the
Yeah,
interesting part.
What you do, you're what you talking?
Yeah.
See, family.
Yeah.
So brother want me to make some announcements.
Go ahead, Pooh.
Would
Go ahead, Pooh.
All right, I'm Dwight Abdurrahman. Local Chief Minister for Region 2, that's in Washington, D.C., which is called Cherokee. I'm also the Operations Minister for Army as well. So now we're going to make it that we have an up-and-coming summit. Well, first of all, welcome everybody. Thank everybody for coming and sharing your energy this morning. We appreciate it this afternoon. Secondly, we have our summit coming up August 28th, 29th, and 30th, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. August 28th, 29th, and 30th. I'll put the website up on the board as well for those who want to look at the website. That's the only way you can, that's not the only way you can purchase the tickets. That's one of the ways to purchase tickets. And the itinerary is on there. The itinerary is on there, along with who's going to be speaking on Friday night. Brother Dick Gregory is speaking. Like myself, Father Dick Gregory is speaking. Okay, and that's the only Friday night. Not speaking Saturday night, you know, Sunday. Exactly. That you can see. Father Dick Gregory is speaking at the summit. And also Friday night is the meet and greet. So the other 7 jurisdictions coming down. So we're going to have like a little small dinner. It's not going to be a dinner where you sit down dinner. It's going to be like food there, you get it, go back and have a seat. Because we put the tables in the venue, there won't be enough people, there won't be enough seats to sit down. So there'll be some tables there, but it's more like it'll be like each food, sit down, and eat. But then we'll bring on Dick Gregory, hopefully like 6:30, 6:30, and he'll carry us on the rest of the night. So, on that particular night, bring your pen and your pads and papers, because I'm quite sure he's going to give us all the information that we probably heard or haven't heard. We would heard, yes, sir.
Can you bring a video? Can you video that? Can you take that if you can?
We actually, we'll video. Then, yeah. Then no, because I'm quite sure the security will shut it down. Yeah, so on that night, that's what's going on that night. So we want to, it's not just national, it's a non-national as well. That's why I said you go to the website and the prices are on there if you want to just come one night as opposed to 3 nights.
Your card.
And we have flyers over here too. So take some and pass them out because we can use all the publicity and we not using you. I want to utilize you and pass out the flyers because it has all publicize the event for us. Please, we appreciate it. Y'all let me know when y'all finish this and I'll finish off.
Focus, people. Focus on the class, people. We broke this. Can we go back to the class, please? Bro. Chief. Sorry, sir. Respect that.
On Saturday, we're having a tour of Shepherd Neck at 9 o'clock at the Chief Tammany statue. That's on Washington Street.
Market.
On Market Street. So that's where we're going to meet at, and the Chief will take us on a tour of Shepherd Neck. Tour to that at 9 o'clock. We'll start at 9, so please be there on time. Matter of fact, I'll leave it. That way we can start on time so we can finish. Supposed to be about 11 o'clock. In between that time, we give everybody a chance to go back to the room and, stuff together. And then we have the basketball game, which is gonna be on, and 10th and Arch Street. It's a rec center on 10th and Arch Street. So that's gonna be there. After we finish the basketball game, also the basketball game is gonna be barbecue. After the barbecue, we're gonna have food, everything. Unless they think the food is gonna be free that night. Friday night, food is all free, and the drink is all free. But on Saturdays, no. Yes, sir.
On Saturday, come on, when you meet more.
Chief Tammany statue.
Yeah.
Market Street, so we're gonna go to. The tour gonna stop at City Hall. Probably because of time. Because the first time I went to the tour, I leave, we walk all the way to the Rocky statue. So that's where the tour shoot in there. But because you know, a lot of people there, there's probably some other people walking with us, so we're gonna cut it short right there at City Hall. And like I said, do like 10 to regroup, get some rest. Well, the basketball game, after the basketball game, we're going back to 1199, which is on what street, sir?
Locust.
Locust Street, and that's where the other people, like, we're speaking like Africa Bambaataa, Mama Costa was, and then Ali will probably in the night. So that's Saturday night. Sunday, we come back in doing economics, nationality, midwifery, Sasha, she'll be sitting on midwifery because she actually has a birthing center here, be the first birthing center here in Checker, Mexico. Okay, so all that study she's been doing in Mexico is paying off, so she's gonna open up a center here, her in Fort Texas. It's already underway, it's been opening, so just shed more light on it. So pretty much the whole 3 days is get around family. Right, that's why we have more activities that to bring up and talk about, but we want everybody to just build with one another. Since we're gonna have all the other 8 jurisdictions coming, everybody tends to build with each other, share information, and pass on some jewels like the brother just passed on today, this morning. So and then also on Sunday, the couples who come there, also how you gonna we do your vows if you want to while you're there. Actually, I'll take a step further. We can do our vows as far as brother to brother, sister to sister friendship.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
So we're going all that's going to accomplish on Sunday. So looking for everybody to come. Like I said, the price is on the website. If you have any other questions, you can ask me. I'll try my best to answer them. Best ability if I don't. It's always on the website. So each and every Sunday we're here, 217 West Fifth Street, having one of the classes ran by Troy Smoke. So we want to don't give him a big hand, give him a small hand. And reaching out to us and letting us use this home. The classes may be moved next week. I'm not sure yet, but I'll leave with discuss it tomorrow in New York. To Black and Nobel bookstore.
Broad area.
Yeah, broad area because the class not being anticipated. The class are getting bigger. Up the steps. So the class is getting bigger. So I don't know right now. I'm just so that may be happening. But we will know that that's taking place. We also have a calling number every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, the reason for the conference call is so these two can talk while I'm talking. And the purpose of that class is to keep the energy going throughout the week. Because we meet on Sunday, there's no reason for us not to reach out to each other during the week. You don't have to be hard of it. You get to see how each other's doing, how the family's doing, and just giving them love, okay, and open up some prayer. So that number we'll put on the board before everyone leaves, and you can call it at 8 o'clock. We would like to start promptly at 8 o'clock, but sometimes it's like now, last week there's almost 55 people on the call. It only started with 7 people. Now that's the 55 people that's been on the call. So that's another thing. So it's growing, and we don't want to cut nobody off from talking. But we can say this though, if you call in, put your phone on mute when someone is speaking out of respect for the person that is speaking, please, because we hear a lot of noise in the background, and we're caught up with Troy being at the full food. But anyway.
Picking up apples off the
Right. Thank you. That's going to put the calling number. Please call. If you have anything to offer, just let us know that you have something to say. the information to each and every national, and there are some non-nationals on there as well. So that just gives them more energy to want to be a more part of the African Republic of North America. That's pretty much it. Yes, sir. Yes,
The brothers and sisters from the other regions will eventually, their phone numbers go on like a national register.
yes, that's the reason for that as well, because probably some of those nationals are not on a database. So we look at the Gazette, update the database. So we got to make sure everybody sign in. Please sign in legibly, please, so we can know your phone number, your email address, and also your name, so we can also send your emails. We'll put you on the database, so everything goes out just in the cabinet. It goes out to all the nationals as well. So please make sure that we do that. Like I said, pass the word on for the class. That's what it's all about. Just trying to grow the nation, any and all costs. So we pass the word on that we're here. And we humbly appreciate you all. Thank you for coming. Come again next week. Bring about 4 more 5 people. We do offer a little bit of refreshments and food before we feed all up by Brother Wale.
I feel bad.
So again, thank you. I don't know if Shorty want to add on anything, but thanks for giving me the call. I appreciate it. Peace.
Peace.
Oh. So, how many of you are coming to the summit? Who's coming?
I got 4.
Well, God's willing to use it. Okay, so the reason why I'm asking that question is this: we need to get registered right away, as well as get other people registered. I know Brother Wale just got registered today. So congratulations, Brother Wale. Oh, okay, Brother Wale just got registered as well. So we want to make sure we get registered right away, because there are certain costs that come with it, and then on top of it, we want to make sure that we are able to be ahead of the game, not behind the game. We don't want to wait till last minute. We want to make sure that we're ahead of the game. I always tell people, even if you don't have the whole thing, right now, bring a little each week, $25 a week for the next 4 weeks. That covers you. You know what I'm saying? No, wait, what month is it?
Yeah, we're all free.
We're in now.
Oh, wait, it's August?
Yeah.
I thought it was July. It's July. Right, so yeah, well, for the next 2 weeks, bring 50. Well, do what you got to do. Just make it happen. And we realize that we can make anything happen that we desire. Let your child need a new pair of sneakers, the newest Jordans, and you'll pay the $400. Let yourself want a new Versace watch and a brand new car, or, whatever it is, we do it. And we all know that we've done it. Women go get the weave done for $500, and then y'all ain't got no money. Y'all just got a man, so get your man to pay for it, whatever it is. But get yourself registered. And the reason why is because we have, and I'm sure Chief Dewey talked about it. However, I had a chance to watch a comedy special the other night, and Dick Gregory happened to be on it. And I was so surprised because I was like, I've never really seen him personally. So I mean, I didn't know what he brought to the table on the real. But the way this gentleman, from a very strategic standpoint, espoused wisdom with comedy, it was amazing. Because I was like, wow, okay, so now I see why they say be there, because just imagine this is timeline. This gentleman comes with 83 years of experience of having walked through the civil rights thing, now coming into the human rights era, and able to share with you the atrocities, but also things to bring about remedy. So my thing is that 83 years of wisdom in the room from him, and then looking at the council and the host of other individuals that bring forth wisdom, we're going to have well over 100 years of wisdom in the room alone. So you want to be there in the energy, you want to be there to take part, you want to take the copious notes, you want to shake the hand, you want to take the picture. So historically, years from now, your grandchildren and your great-grands and on down the lineage, you can say, this is my picture with this historian at 83 years old I had a chance to meet personally. That's a powerful story. And that's the thing that we have to begin to recognize is that we sit in such a amazing position in time to create a totally different dynamic for the future generations.
Right.
There are history, are we willing to pay the price? Right. To pay the price is being in the place to get the information to help you navigate forward. So we definitely look forward to for you guys being there. As you guys know, Friday night is $50. And
If you're coming for that night.
yeah, if you're coming, still 50, okay. So for that night, if a person, now I'm not talking about you, because you're coming for the entire thing. I'm talking about for the friends, family, and loved ones that don't know about HANA, that may not be willing to pay X amount for it. Well, it's a fundraiser, and because it's a fundraiser with dinner, seeing someone of 83 years of wisdom coming to bring forth information, $50 is a drop in the bucket. So literally, all you have to do is don't announce it, because announcements don't be paid attention to. You have to actually promote it. You saw how I promoted it, right? It's something called an art of promotion. You have to get people engaged, get them to have an understanding as to why they want to be there. I had never heard of him until someone else shared with me wisdom. I called one of my mentors, a gentleman by the name of Ty Collins, that's my English professor. And he ran down history, and then he threw me some videos, and he was like, oh, you know, so it really made me have a better understanding. So what you have to do is do your due diligence so that you can stand on your square while sharing it with others to make sure they're clear to understand why, or understand why they need to be there. And I say me, yes, you need to be there. But his history, this historic event isn't going to happen twice. Yes, sir.
Oh, now, I had an experience of reading a book that he wrote. Like you said, doing that, I came up through that. And it was a book called Nigger.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Greg.
You said that one?
Yeah, oh yeah, the book, that's the name of the book. And the white folks told Brother Dick Gregory about this wonderful chicken. They said, whatever you do to this chicken, we're going to do to you. He said, oh, brother, he picked up the chicken, turned the chicken around and said, the white folks said, get that nigga out there. That's in the book. It's in the book. Oh, okay. That's what he did. That's the type of man he was when he was standing confident. But he came to the civil rights. I was coming on a young man myself. And having to read it, I was no more good. He is a phenomenal. He was really that. And also healing, you know, he has all that capacity under him. And then when he did people, when said 600 pounds, he had him down to 150 and all.
Yeah.
This man is phenomenal. He is right. Those folks is right. Yes. But that really got to me. I never forgot that. When he said, oh, really? He turned that chicken around and fixed that chicken out. The white folks said, get that nigga out of here.
So let's make sure we stay tuned for Tuesday, because we'll be announcing whether we're going to be shifting the class to another location. That's a possibility. I believe it's supposed to be happening as of this coming week, so we will let you know. So, Tuesday, and if that is the case, for those that don't make it out, we will text you out. Everybody signed in, name, phone number, email address. I want to know why you didn't sign. You guys have an amazing day on purpose, and we'll definitely look forward to see everybody next week.
Okay, you'll be posting what this word communicate.
Yeah,
That'll be on.
it's going to be emailed to you alone.
Oh, okay.
I'm only emailing to the people in the class. We're in the class.
Hey, what did you email?
What did I say? I was email.
I didn't hear. That's my man.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Have the one.